Hey, you little dingleberries, today we're going on a trip all the way to South America. Boy and the World is a Brazilian animated film from director Ale Abreu. It came out in 2013 and utilizes mixed media for its animation styles, such as colored pencil, pastel paints, crayons, and collage cutout animation to create one of the most unique and visually arresting films of the 2010s. This film is a biting, intriguing parable that, despite being completely suitable for kids, will more than likely appeal to the adults with its social and political commentary, visual storytelling, and meditative contemplation on life itself. I saw this movie right when it released at a film festival in my city, and let me tell you, not only was I enraptured, but it was kind of responsible for my fascination with obscure and underrated animated films. If it weren't for this movie, I probably wouldn't have been set on this particular trajectory of pursuing animation as a passion and bringing attention to these gems of cinema. So yeah, that should give you an idea of the level of quality we're dealing with here. It has the potential to be a modern classic, one I would encourage everyone to watch. So, let's skip bop to the flip-flop and fucking die. Boy and the World is about a boy! A little boy whose name, according to the director, is Kuka. But for the sake of this review, I shall refer to him simply as the boy. He lives a simple, happy, yet isolated life with his parents in the vast countryside setting, where they farm and raise their own food. But one day, the boy's father leaves on a train to the big city, and the boy, feeling a tremendous hole in his heart from his dad's absence, decides to travel to that city. On this journey, he learns all about the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly. From the vast cityscapes and megacorporations to the humble individual, this child is exposed to the complex machine that is society. He sees the dark underbelly of humanity, as well as the captivating beauty that this planet has to offer, and everything in between. It's a rather beautiful and poignant piece. It covers the full scope of how alienating and exhausting the hustle of society can be, but it doesn't shy away from showcasing the persistence and power of the human spirit, and reaffirms the simple reasons we find to keep on living. I absolutely love the outlook this film has. It's critical of humanity and its practices, while still celebrating what makes us great, what makes us worth fighting for. I think that's an absolutely vital message that can and should be applied to anyone's life. And part of what makes these themes so effective is that the film is completely dialogueless. Aside from some literal reversed Portuguese from the father and other incidental characters, there is not a wink of spoken word in this film. Everything is told from the beautiful multimedia animation and the incredible score. That's another thing I should mention. The score by Ruben Pfeffer and Gustavo Kurlat is exceptional. It's upbeat, celebratory, and lively, but it can also be haunting, melancholic, and somber. It's unironically become one of my favorite film scores in animation. Seriously, it's fantastic. I'm not a music aficionado, I don't know music theory or terminology, all I know is I like it, it sounds good. But as I was saying, the complete lack of dialogue, very much like other underrated animation greats, helps the themes to be naturally well woven into the story's tapestry without the potential of any character outright stating the themes. It allows you to extrapolate them for yourself. And while the themes and imagery in this film are not subtle by any means, it's still much more effective than if any one character were to act as the director's mouthpiece. It's incredibly well told and well paced, which shouldn't be understated actually. The pacing is brilliant. No scene lingers for too long, and every scene naturally transitions into the next like butter. And a lot of that is thanks to the surrealist and trippy animation as well as the extremely complimentary score. And as far as the animation is concerned, this film is a technical marvel, combining both hand-painted vectors with cutout animation, pastel backgrounds that give beautiful color to the countryside setting, and jumbled collages that detail the larger-in-life metropolis. From pencils to pens, brushes and ink to mathematic equations and motion tweening, this film covers a rather broad spectrum of what can be accomplished with the medium, it utilizes almost every avenue you can take for animation. It's a celebration of the art form. These artists got so creative with the mediums used to craft this work of art, you can really tell the people involved were incredibly enthusiastic. Everything about this film is so authentic and purposeful, it's a high recommendation for sure. So, now that we've got all that out of the way, I think it's time we delved into spoilers to examine the allegories and messages of the film. Time code, blippity schlippity, blappity schlappity. But first, a little history lesson. All the way back in 1964, the Fifth Brazilian Republic was established with support from the US military. This was the result of a coup against President João Goulart. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I've heard multiple ways to pronounce it. This ushered in a militaristic dictatorship that lasted until March 1985. The reason I bring this up is because the film clearly takes place within one of those 2 decades. The city that the boy finds himself in is ruled by an iron-fisted military government, and there are protesters that stand in unison against their oppressors. As the boy soon witnesses, not only are the protesters' efforts fruitless, but there are clear visual metaphors of a violent battle between the 2 factions, as well as blood in the streets. All of this horror and civil unrest is rug-swept by the media in favor of more jovial entertainment, as the people of Brazil are left to suffer. But the commentary doesn't stop there. In one of the coolest and most dismal transitions in any film ever, we see real-life footage of the deforestation of the Brazilian wildlife, and the harsh, smog-filled industry that took its place. The film, while bright, colorful, musical, and energetic, is thematically quite dark and unforgiving, and I very much appreciate it for that. Like I said at the beginning, the adult audience will more than likely get a lot more out of this film than the younger viewers for these very reasons. It's very critical of Brazil's historical legacy, but as I detailed earlier, it still falls back on the endearing notion that humanity, as flawed and destructive as we are made up of honest and hard-working individuals, that we are naturally good at heart, and that our lives have value.
Isn't that lovely?
Now, before we go any further, I think it's important we point out a big, damning flaw with this movie. And you're probably gonna hate me for this, but it's true. The boy has got some serious titanium-grade plot armor. I'm sorry, but he does. He dodges death at every turn, and sometimes it's kinda ridiculous. I'm not expecting the filmmakers to actually kill the kid, but why even put him in peril if you're not gonna have it matter to the overall story? I try to stay consistent as possible with my criticisms, and if I'm being completely honest, the plot armor for Cuca is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, for real, this kid is Now, I think it's time we discuss the boy himself. The boy starts off like any child, wide-eyed, energetic, and playful. But as the film progresses and he becomes more and more disenfranchised with the world around him, he grows into the very melancholic and frail old man we saw at the beginning and end of the film. And that, in and of itself, is the whole twist of the movie. The boy, the young adult, and the old man are all Cuca. At first, it seems to be a dismal conclusion to the character. And objectively speaking, yeah, it's pretty depressing. Punctuated by the fact that the boy doesn't even get to reunite with his dad. Yeah, not even kidding. The movie teases you into thinking it's gonna happen, but nah, they're all societal drones that just resemble his dad. So that really sucks, both from an emotional standpoint and a narrative standpoint. It's a very weak and, dare I say, underwhelming payoff for what was essentially the inciting incident for the film. And emotionally speaking, it's just a downer that he never got to reunite with his dad. I mean, yeah, he still had his mom, but what the hell happened to the dad? Was he a subject of a government cloning experiment? I don't know. This ain't no American tale. This is a Brazilian waxing of your soul. The boy, while having no real character outside of basic childish traits, acts more as a vehicle for the movie's themes, which there are a lot going on here if you haven't already surmised. Themes of family, industrialization, environmentalism, the struggle of living in a domineering society, and above all, the perseverance of the human spirit, which is at the heart of the film. Through all the themes it juggles, it predominantly boasts the importance of always moving forward and keeping yourself optimistic no matter how dire things get. An understandably naive notion to lean on when pitted against the mouth of the monster that is the societal system, but it's that very childlike naivete and energy that keeps us optimistic, that gives us some form of hope no matter how misplaced it may be, because hope will always give you that extra little push.
Isn't that lovely?
It's an unapologetic film, both optimistic and honest about humanity. I'd even call it timeless, and I highly, highly recommend it. Boy in the World is like a garden of tomatoes. Like a good book. Boy in the World is a jubilant effort. Boy in the World is a load of garbage. Boy in the World killed my family. Boy in the World, look, it's good, okay? It's fucking good. What else do you want me to say? I've pretty much said every conceivable positive thing about this film, and I didn't really have anything else to say for the conclusion. It's available on the archive if you want to watch it. The archive is your friend. It's an unassuming gem of Brazilian cinema, this film, and I hope you enjoy it should you choose to watch it. Now, it's time for me to make like your dad and leave. Thanks for tuning in. And now for something completely different.
There's about 3,000 good penises here, and you chose the one with penises on the penis